Hi there, Paul from Performance Frontiers here. This month we've been exploring how we can stretch into our strategic thinking a little bit more so that we can operate more effectively in our fast-paced, interconnected, complex modern world. Being strategic involves new ways of seeing things and doing things, and that in turn calls on us to dial up our creativity. So today I want to share with you 3 techniques that we draw upon to open up more diverse and even counterintuitive ways of thinking to create more diverse possibilities around strategic thinking. The first technique is to seek out and embrace tension, because being strategic often involves balancing those tensions that inevitably show up between competing forces. So things like competition versus collaboration, or control versus empowerment, or short-term horizons versus longer term. And when we're able to hold and integrate that tension that exists between opposing forces, it really helps us to see the bigger picture a little bit more clearly, and that in turn helps us to make better decisions. The second technique is to search for analogies. Analogies is where we're able to see patterns from elsewhere that we can apply to our current problems or challenges. So it's about turning to other models and frameworks and looking for those underlying connections that we can then transfer and adapt into new contexts. So a classic example is the soles in Nike shocks, which were originally adapted from the suspension systems in Formula One racing cars. So using analogy in strategic thinking helps us to see those deeper patterns that open up new possibilities that we might not have noticed before. The third technique is to disconnect from today. And what I mean by that is that typically when we look to the future, we adopt a present forward mindset. So we take what we know right now and we project that onto an imagined future. And that can actually be quite useful in short-term forecasting, but it is really limiting when it comes to the longer term. And one way of breaking out of that is to adopt future back thinking, where we jump ahead 5 or 10 years to an ideal future, and then we track back from there and figure out what do we need to do in practice so that we can actually bring that ideal future to life. It isn't really so much a question of absolutely accurate prediction. It's more a question of opening up those more expansive possibilities. And one way that we do that with clients at Performance Frontiers is to introduce science fiction scenarios so that it opens up our imaginations and we can start to perceive other possible futures that we hadn't considered before. And that's actually a reasonably common technique which a number of organizations use. So Google and Visa and Ford, as well as government bodies as diverse as NATO and even the French army, have all enlisted the services of science fiction writers. So to summarize from today, 3 techniques that you can use to really optimize your strategic thinking. Number 1 is to seek out and embrace tension. Number 2 is to look for analogies. And number 3 is to adopt future back thinking. Okay, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.